Now let's play with the marquee tools, and what we're going to do is we're going to grab this window, make a rather complicated marquee, make that marquee into an adjustment layer, and darken the window pane so it looks like it's receding into the building. So what I want you to do is Command plus, hold down space bar to get the hand tool, and then let's scoot this over. Scoot over my entire Photoshop window there. Okay. So we're going to grab the marquee tool here, and we're going to hold the marquee button down to get elliptical marquee tool. Because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the top of the window, including this red brick motif there. And so imagine, if you were, don't hold this down yet, but imagine, if you will, where this would meet if this line continued with this line, and that's where you want to start the marquee. Okay, so a dotted line should appear, and you're just trying to grab the top of it. Remember, you could hold down spacebar to move your marquee around as long as you're still holding your cursor down, your mouse button down. Okay, and we're going to try to get around that. Don't worry about the bottom of it, okay, because that's going to change here in a minute. But see if you can get that top part to match the archway there. Okay, if you're having trouble with that, you can always go into Select, Transform Selection, and then you can come over to the Edit Transform buttons, any of these, such as Distort. Okay, and then you can grab the corners of these to say move that in. Alright, if you need to move it out, or you need to distort it so that it's a funkier oval shaped. Okay, any of those things. Alright, now I'm going to do check mark because I'm accepting those changes, but let's imagine you didn't do that select transform selection step. Okay, I didn't do that, but I go right to the transform options, which they're there, but they're not what you think. If you start to do it now, you're going to notice you're actually changing the pixels in the image. You might like that, but that's not what we're doing this particular project. You could do that elsewhere, you know, with a different type of project. But let's actually go back, or you can simply cancel. Let's just cancel out of that. Okay, we don't want to change the actual pixels. We're just working with the marquee right now. Okay, now let's change over to the rectangular marquee, and we're going to add to that selection. Hold down Shift. Notice when you hold down Shift, what happens in our cursor? A little plus appears on the bottom right. Okay, let's come on the outside of that brick motif there, and let's drag up holding down Shift, and we're going to overlap with that elliptical marquee. Let go, and now it's made one large window shaped marquee, which is pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to hold down my space button, my space bar, and I'm going to also hold down Shift and grab these little brick motifs that continue beyond the window. Okay, and that includes those into the marquee. Once again, let's say you didn't get the full window, you can go to Select, Transform Selection. You have to do that step in order to access these buttons for the marquee. Okay, so I distort that, and then let's say I want to bring that out a little bit. Okay, and then I push Return to commit to those changes. Okay, now let's say, well, I don't want this portion of the window to be included. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to actually minus portions of the marquee within the marquee. Let's switch back over to elliptical marquee tool. Okay, once again, you're imagining about where they meet. Okay, but we're going to actually come over here, and this time you're going to hold down Option button and you're going to grab just where the window is there. This is a little trickier. Okay. Remember, it's just the top of the window that we care about. Okay, that's pretty good. And I'm going to let go. And that's actually a portion that's not part of our marquee. We're going to get these windows too by holding down Option and just getting the windows themselves. And then we're going to actually add on to that. But notice I'm still an elliptical. So I'm going to undo that with Command Z. And I'm going to come back here to rectangular marquee tool, holding down Option, which gives me that minus. Do you see that little minus that appears with the cursor? Then I'm going to grab these windows down here, and that's going to actually combine with that to then create a large marquee within the within the other marquee. Okay, notice there's a little portion there, so you can actually hold down Shift or Option. Option will minus, okay, to grab that to make that go over a little better. Okay, so there, and then to make that go over just a little more. Alright, it's looking pretty good. But now let's say you want the window dividers to be included, so you can hold down Shift. Okay, we're still in rectangular marquee, so let's grab this upper part of the window frame. Then let's go down in between those windows, the top and the lower windows, and grab that divider there. Okay, so we're actually adding these dividers back, if you could believe that. Okay, let me grab this one. Oops, if that happens, you move the whole marquee over, just do Command Z, it's going to move it right back. Make sure you're inside the omitted and the outer marquee. Okay, there, and grab the middle one there. This way you don't have to do each pane individually. There. Okay, that's looking pretty good. You think, boy, I wish that were out just a little more. Well, you can go back to elliptical, and you can add to the negative portion, meaning the part that's not going to be including, by holding down Option key, and you can grab a little more of that window there. Okay, it's going to look a little funky now, but that's alright. And oops, I don't like that, so I'm going to Command Z. I want to grab a little bit of it there. Okay. Might be better to go big. There. Okay, so now I'm liking that, and we can still work with it even more later, and I'll show you how. Now you're going to come down to adjustment layers, which are here, and you're going to choose brightness contrast. Okay, it's going to bring up a brightness contrast properties box here. You can also access the adjustment layers by going into here. Layer, new adjustment layer. Okay. We're going to actually bring up the contrast of, and what it's done, it has created an adjustment layer based on that marquee, that rather complex marquee you just created. Okay, so you see it there, and the dotted line has gone away, and instead now we have this. Okay, and we can smooth those out, don't worry about that. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm in this side of the properties box, which is the brightness contrast. Okay, I'm going to bring up the contrast and bring down the brightness. So it's making that window look darker. Do you see that? Okay, that's too much, but just to show it to you. All right. Now you're saying you're seeing that hard edge. You're probably seeing the hard edge. If we command plus plus, you're going to really see it along here. And one way to correct that a little bit is by softening it with the feather. Okay, that's on the layer side, the mask side of the properties box. You just click back and forth between these icons and you can bring up that feather. Okay, you really see that in the layer mask there, the black-white representation, how it makes it blurrier depending on how much you feather. Okay, you can go back by doing that. Okay, or you could paint and add to or deduct from the mask by painting with black or white. You have to go over to B for your brushes. Okay, and you see I can actually remove some of that, or by reversing the two, pushing X to exchange, you can then bring that back. Okay, you can do that. All right. Okay, so let's look at the before and after. You see there's quite a difference there. It's adding some nice contrast to the window. I think I like that effect. All right. So now that you've done that, see if you can also do this window. So they seem to match in that subtle darkening of the window. Go ahead and do this other window as well.